is up, everybody, and welcome back to Godspeed ZRZ. Now, as you can tell, the location we're at now is quite a bit different than where we're usually at, but today I've got something special for you guys. So I get a lot of comments asking what it's taken to actually get the Jeep as far as it is now, especially in terms of price. So we went over the individual parts. So I want to basically do a follow-up with that and show you guys exactly what it costs to get the Jeep where it's at now. Now, keep in mind with the Rubicon 392, I was able to order a lot of the features you guys see and love on this thing from the factory. So I'm going to touch on that and tell you what did come from the factory and tell you what I changed, and I think you'll actually be pretty surprised. So of course, just starting off, guys, this is the Rubicon 392 like I did say, and of course MSRPs on these vary. Now this is the non-XR package, and I actually did get it for sticker. So for this one, the actual MSRP sales price was $77,995, and with that it included a lot of the key features that all of the Rubicon 392s actually do come with. There are quite a few options that you can't even, take out if you didn't want. One of those options, of course, being the steel bumpers front and rear. And with this one, of course, we do have the end caps taken off, but that's nothing too big. And then, of course, the rock sliders like every other Rubicon. And with these, I did have to cut these down. We've talked about that in a previous video. That way we could clear the bigger tires. And then, of course, on the back here, we've also got the steel bumper in the rear. And the steel bumpers are really, really nice. But even to go beyond that, of course, we've got the blacked out grille too, and that was an option from Jeep. Whenever I did place the order, I wanted to do something just a little bit different. So the black grille just seemed like something really easy to stand out with. And then of course, one of the most common things that does get brought up is actually just the actual suspension on this. So as many of you already know, the Rubicon 392 does come with the lift kit from the factory. It's just a 2-inch lift over the factory ride height on the Rubicons. But with that does give you quite a few more options in terms of clearance for tires and what sizes you want to run. Now we'll dive into the size on this one, but for right now, the 2-inch lift that's on this, of course, came from the factory, and basically everything I've already listed was included in that $77,995 sales price. And those are some of the biggest features that I get a lot of questions about. Now, just to start diving into some of the things I did add on my own, we'll go ahead and mention the things that were probably the easiest and the cheapest to start. First thing first being the tent. Now the tent on this, I actually got 15% all the way around, 15 in the front, 15 in the back over the factory tent. And then I ended up doing a 30% windshield, or maybe 35, I honestly can't remember. But with that, the cost on it was only right at $300, so nothing too bad. Then strangely enough, one of my cheapest modifications was just the stubby antenna. And with the stubby antennas, they're usually like 15 bucks at O'Reilly's, so nothing too bad, nothing too expensive. Another little cheap thing that we did add, but has been really awesome and has got a lot of love so far, has been the actual hood latches on this thing. So you can tell here with these hood latches, they're quite a bit different, quite a bit more aggressive, and they do have the hood pins that you pull out. So with this, it just gives it a much more aggressive look and definitely stands out compared to the rest of the Jeeps on the road. And with these hood latches, they're only $50. So with that, the actual cost to add these to your Jeep, definitely worth it. Another thing we did add is the lights up front. Now these are just flood beam. Of course, whenever I would turn on my high beams on back roads and stuff, the fog lights on the bottom would actually just turn off. That's the way most vehicles are wired now. If your high beams are on, your fog lights go off. So with these, it basically eliminated that loss of brightness that I had whenever I turn on my high beams. I think these were only $150, and that came with a little bit of the wiring kit and the mounting brackets as well. And with these, I just mounted them directly to the bumper. So it looks really good and it matches well with the powder coating on the Jeep, especially with that black grille right there. Now diving into another cheaper thing that I did add, that's going to be the spare tire delete. And with the spare tire deletes, they're actually really cheap depending on which one you decide to go with. I can't even remember which brand this one was, but for this one, it comes with the camera relocation and then also the third brake light, which I did switch out for a different light because I didn't really want the third brake light. But for these, I think they're only about 100 bucks, so it's not too expensive to add on to it, and it's definitely well worth the money. And on the 392s, you can actually call it weight reduction and a little bit of cost reduction. That way you don't have to get that full-size spare tire and wheel. Another thing I did add was actually the floor mats. So with this one, it didn't come with the Mopar all-weather floor mats. I was kind of disappointed in that. I didn't even think of clicking it, but that's always something you can add on later. But with these, I actually hooked up with Last Fit. And with Last Fit Industries, these floor mats have done really well. They are laser cut. And for the price on these, it's only about $150. But they've actually performed a little bit better than what my factory ones did in the past. Even in the back, they hold everything in really well. One thing I'm gonna have to add later is just the big mat for the back. So for right now in the back, it's just the normal carpet. I don't have any mat to protect anything. But for the floor mats, just 150 bucks, and they perform really well. They've even got like an aggressive tread pattern on them, like the tires I have on now, and it looks really good. Now to dive into something I've changed like 6 times already, that's gonna be the exhaust. The exhaust on this vehicle has been through many different variations, but each one's got better and better. For now, I just have a downpipe past where the actual mid pipe would be. So it's a full muffler resonator delete. We still have the cats. It basically drops down right before the rear axle, and I'll let you guys get a little clip of it right now. Typically, the way I do it, it ends up being $150 to $200. Like I said, I have ran through about 6 different variations, but we'll just count one for the actual cost of what it's taken to get this Jeep where it's at now, and we'll just add $150 in for that. Then of course, jumping on to the expensive stuff that we all know comes with the Jeeps. Now with this one, where I didn't have to get a lift kit or anything like that yet, the most expensive thing that I've added is actually the wheels and tires. So we have the 20x12 -44 offset, 4.5 back spacing, XD wheels. And with these, they are the bronze accents. They look really good. And then for the tires on this, we've actually got 38-15-50, a Mickey Thompson Baja Boss. And you can tell the aggressive stance on this. It looks really, really good the way that it is now. And I've been very pleased. I ran this tire actually in 35s in the past. Of course, it typically is one of the most expensive things that you're gonna add, especially just in the beginning phases of the build. And with this one, I believe I paid right at $4,500 shipped. That's actually already balanced and everything. And with the TPMS sensors, I got those from Custom Wheel Offsets. But you can tell the stance on this thing is extremely aggressive. Pokes the tires out past the fender quite a bit, and that is with the full width factory fender. Now for the fenders, I have had to make some modifications to be able to clear those, but it's been very, very minor. So most of it's just some minor trimming at the bottom right here, and you really can't tell, but I did tuck back the fender well just a little bit too. That way I could get that extra clearance whenever I am turning. And even with the 35-1250s I had in the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss, they did look really good. It definitely made the Jeep look quite a bit better from the 33s that came on at stock, but it just wasn't big enough for me, considering I've ran pretty big sets in the past and I've just pretty much got accustomed to it. And then another piece that I did get from the factory I forgot to mention that I do get a lot of questions about, it's just the front mounted trail camera. And with that, that's an option from the factory. I think every Rubicon 392 comes with it, but I can't remember if I clicked it. I'm pretty sure I did click it, the tow group, and then just the matte black grille. Pretty sure those are the only options that weren't just standard that I did add on to the Rubicon 392. Of course, at the time, now I did order like literally the first Rubicon 392 in the nation, and you guys can see that video is posted maybe almost 2 years ago now. But whenever I ordered it, the XR package was not even a thing. So I do wish I had the 456 gears, but with these size tires, I need to go to at least 488 anyway. I am a little bit nervous about adding that extra stress on the Dana 44s. Of course, the teeth are going to be a little bit smaller to fit that extra gearing in, but that's all going to be part of the next phase of this build. Now, for what we have into it now, I've added it up from the sticker price and just the little parts and pieces we've added so far, and that takes us to $84,745. Now, with the amount spent on top of what I actually paid for it from the factory, it's not that bad. Of course, these are expensive Jeeps to start with. Once you add just a little bit of money into them, I'm telling you, it really changes everything. And with this, we basically just focused on the look so far, and phase 2, we're gonna start really focusing on the performance and hone in on what we want to get out of this thing. So that basically wraps up phase 1, but I want to go ahead and give you guys a little insight on what we're gonna do for phase 2 on this. So for phase 2, we're really gonna focus on performance and of course, beefing up the drivetrain. Just in terms of axles and drivetrain for what we're gonna have to beef up, I've basically got in mind maybe a $5 grand budget for axles, re-gearing, and things like that. And then to go beyond that, we're also going to do the twin turbocharger kit. And with these, typically to take it to the right place to get a tune, and I'm not going to install it myself. I'm not there yet, but hopefully this will help me get a little bit better understanding of how these kits are done. To get the actual twin turbo kit installed, the correct tune, and get it dynoed, we're probably looking at about $12,500 total. And with that, it's not too bad, but it's definitely a big chunk. And then also in terms of armor, we're definitely going to be changing out the fenders, going to be changing out the bumpers to get more of like a pre-runner style. For fenders, I assume we're probably going to be in the $2,000 range for front and rear. Same for bumpers, 2,000, maybe 2.5 thousand, but I would like to stay around 2,000. If we could get some help from bigger companies on getting some products in, obviously that's going to bring the cost down of what we actually have to pay. But for now, it's just safe to assume 2,000 for the fenders and probably $2,000 for bumpers as well. Another thing I'm changing out, probably actually be the next thing I'm changing out, is going to be these taillights. So the taillights, we're going with the Oracle flush mount. We're also going to be adding a little bit of extra exterior lighting, and I've found some rigid pods I want. I would like to mount some with the back if I can find the right place to mount them, just because the reverse lights aren't enough on a dark trail. And another thing will definitely be the sound system. So for the sound system on these, they are fine with the Alpine sound system and the 10-inch sub already from the factory, but it's definitely not aggressive enough. We'll get the rear mount on the roll bar and run some marine grade speakers. That way we won't have to worry about it whenever the top is off. But for that, we'll probably have to set up a budget of somewhere around $1,000, $1,500. Nothing too crazy, but just enough to basically be something you do have to prepare for. And then once we get the aftermarket bumpers, we're gonna have to add the winch. We could already, but for now, there's not really a need for it. So with the winch, somewhere around $1,000 with the equipment needed to install it with the fair lead and everything. And then to go beyond that, just in terms of what we do have in mind, of course, we're gonna have to do some roll cage reinforcements. Typically on that, it's somewhere around 1.5 thousand. We're also gonna do a custom wrap. I would like to get like a matte stingray or a little bit darker gray color and get some Godspeed ZRZ logos in it. That would be pretty neat. Typically a wrap where you're doing any bit of customization is somewhere around 3.5 thousand if you do know somebody. Luckily, there are a few people I know that can hook us up on that. And of course, you do just have miscellaneous, whether it's labor for things that you're just not necessarily comfortable with doing, or if it's just gonna be some extra supporting modifications or some extra parts to make the things work. So for that, probably a budget of somewhere around 2.5 thousand. So in terms of when we're gonna do the next reveal in phase 2, that's definitely gonna take the price up quite a bit. So for now, we're somewhere right under $85,000 at 84.7 and some change. And where we'll be at next is actually gonna be closer to 115,000. Adding up the parts that I just have in mind now, that's actually gonna take us to 114,000 and 700 and some odd change. So with that, there's a lot of things to come, about $30,000 worth of modifications, accessories that are gonna be added to this thing, hopefully very, very soon. Now, of course, $30,000 adding that in with parts and accessories, that's no labor included either. So with that being said, it is gonna take me just a hair of time to be able to comfortably order it all and have it sitting there, and then making sure everything's gonna work correctly. So throughout this next phase of phase 2, it might take us maybe a year. Hopefully we'll be able to get everything working properly and looking the way that we want. And with that being said, the end result should be pretty crazy. Now, hopefully that breakdown gives you guys a good idea of where I'm at in this thing now, and a little bit better understanding of, you know, basically the price that's involved in getting this thing to look the way that it does. I think this will shock many, many people, the small amount that I've actually had to put into this thing since I actually bought it. So really and truly, I hope this inspires quite a few of you. It really doesn't take near as much money as what you would think, you know, to get these things set up the way to where you can actually enjoy them. Now, for me in the past, I've done many different builds at just $3,000. I've done plenty of different modifications and added plenty of different accessories to many different vehicles for half the price of my actual wheels and tires on this setup, and I've been more than happy with what I've been able to achieve. But hopefully this just gives you guys a fair representation of what it really takes to get these things the way that you would really want them. And this one's obviously just my personal opinion, so some of the things I could have got and done more expensive, some of the things I could have got a little bit cheaper, but really and truly there's just not all that much added to this one beyond what it comes with from the factory, and I think that'll surprise quite a few people. So that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you want to see next. Of course, I do have the merch available, and if you haven't already, check out the actual store. I've got it listed in the description down below. But until next time, guys, just take it easy.